Welcome back to the WellBeing Check. I'm Stephanie Cunningham, spiritual life coach, Reiki master, recovering type A, and so glad you're here. So Gwen Stefani has a song called Reintroduce Myself. And when I was thinking about today's topic, I kept coming back to that title because that's exactly what we're doing today. Reintroducing you to you. If you've been feeling a little lost lately, a little off, a little disconnected, like you're going through the motions, but you can't quite put your finger on why, this episode is for you. If you're not totally sure who you are outside of your job title or your role in someone else's life, I got you. And if you've been there before, oh my gosh, same. I've been in this exact place more than once, more than twice, honestly. So you're not alone, and no, you're not broken. You're just a little lost, and lost is fixable. Let's get into it. You didn't end up feeling disconnected from yourself by accident. It happened because somewhere along the way, you started living from the outside in instead of the inside out. And you kept doing it for decades. And most of us did this without realizing it. We grew up thinking adulthood was a paint-by-numbers kit. Here's a picture, the right picture, the approved picture, and you just fill it in piece by piece. Good grades, right career, right relationship, house, kids, whatever the template said. And you colored it all in. And maybe it looks perfect from the outside. And maybe it feels completely hollow on the inside. Because the paint-by-numbers model doesn't account for something. It doesn't account for you. What you actually want. What lights you up, what feels aligned to your soul, what feels all warm and fuzzy inside. What that disconnect looks like in real life is always putting everyone else first, kids, work, partners, friends, and treating your own needs like an afterthought. It looks like ignoring your feelings to keep the peace, making choices based on what you're supposed to do instead of what actually feels right, saying yes when you mean no, and then wondering why you're exhausted. After years, and let's be honest, decades of doing that, you don't even know who you are outside of your titles anymore. You're a mother, manager, wife, friend, volunteer. You've been performing roles so long, the person underneath them got quiet. And then someone comes in and asks you what you like to do. And the crickets start chirping. And that silence also shows up in ways that gets harder and harder to ignore. Depression, anxiety, over-managing everything around you just to keep it together, numbing out, whether it's wine, scrolling, staying too busy to feel anything, lying, maybe even to yourself, about how okay you are. Sound familiar? Girl, you're not the only one. And it's not just us girls either. Our guys have a similar situation. And this is not a character flaw, man. It's not a character flaw. It's what happens when you spend too long disconnected from yourself. But it's cool. You can find your way back. And here's how. Before I move on, I want to say something else. The fact that you're actually here listening to this and asking these questions, that is the beginning of you finding your way back to yourself. Awareness always comes first. Always comes first. Okay, first, and I know this sounds almost too simple. I want you to pay attention. That's it. Just start noticing. Noticing what feels good, what feels bad, which parts of your day leave you energized, and which ones leave you wanting to hide under a blanket. Who in your life feels easy and alive to be around, and who consistently drains you down to zero. Notice it all without judgment, without doing anything about it yet. Just let yourself become aware. This awareness is actually data, because you can't navigate back to yourself without that information. You can't make adjustments if you don't know what's actually off. Most of us have been so busy managing shit that we stopped checking in with ourselves entirely. We lost the habit of asking, how do I actually feel right now? In relationships, in work, in life in general. So start asking every day, multiple times a day. before you panic, no, this doesn't mean you have to blow up your life and start over. Although sometimes people do, but you don't have to. It might mean doing more of what feels good and less of what doesn't. Small shifts, slow adjustments, testing, noticing, adjusting again. You're not trying to find yourself in one dramatic revelation. You're building a relationship with yourself, one moment of honest attention at a time. Think about it this way. If you had a friend you'd been completely out of touch with for years, you wouldn't expect to know everything about them in one coffee date, would you? No, you'd ask questions, you'd listen, you'd show up again and again. And that's exactly what you're doing here. Except the friend is you. And you deserve that same patient, curious attention. All right, now it's time to explore. This should be the fun part. The version of you that exists right now may be, different than the version that existed 5, 10, 20 years ago. I mean, the things that lit you up at 25 might not be the things that light you up now. And that's not a loss. That's actually growth. It does mean, though, that you need to go out and find what the current you is actually into. Here are some questions that can get you started. What are you curious about right now? Not what you think you should be curious about. What actually makes you lean in? What have you wanted to try but have talked yourself out of it because it seemed, silly, impractical, or not very you or appropriate? Go try that thing. Seriously, sign up for the pottery class. Go to the meetup for the thing you've been Googling but never acted on. Pick up the book that your friend has been pushing on you for a year. Say yes to the concert, even if no one in your inner circle is going. I speak from experience. When I was going through my separation, I did an improv class. I always wanted to try it, and I was like, whatever, I'm going to try it. This is the time. You cannot screw this up. There's nothing to screw up. You're just trying things. And if something doesn't resonate, that's not a failure. That's information, and you had a cool experience. You crossed one thing off the list and got one step closer to what actually fits. And spoiler alert, I'm not on the path to SNL. You're not too old for this. It's not too late. Kids do this naturally all the time. You see it. They just try shit and see what sticks and move on if it doesn't. We're allowed to do the same thing at any age. Actually, I'd argue it's more important to do as you get older because you have more clarity now about what actually matters to you. Here's something that surprises people. And even if a new experience turns out to be a total bust, you still win. You activated a different part of your brain. You had a new conversation. You got out of the routine for 5 minutes. Those small moves add up. They wake you up. And waking up is the whole point. I started Reiki because I was curious. I didn't know if it was for me. I didn't know if I'd be good at it, or if it would resonate, or if it would lead anywhere. I just followed the curiosity. And it changed everything. Not just my work, my whole life, my whole understanding of myself and what I'm here to do. You just never know what one curious yes is going to open up. The next thing I would invite you to do is to actively seek out what fuels you and then do more of it. This sounds obvious, but it isn't for most of us because we've spent so long prioritizing what's productive, what's responsible, and what other people need that doing things just because they feel good can actually feel really uncomfortable, indulgent, like we don't deserve it until everything else is handled. Like it has to be a reward for us to feel good, which that's ridiculous. So just go ahead and let that go right now. Right now. Doing things that fill you up is not a reward that you earn after everything else is done. It's maintenance. It's how you stay functional. It's a non-negotiable. Get yourself around people who see you, the real you, not the role you play, the real you. And they let you be that. Like-minded people people who are into things that you're into, people who talk about the stuff that's close to your heart. Being in that kind of community does something that you can't manufacture any other way. It makes you feel known, and feeling known is medicine. I cannot overstate this. One of the biggest shifts in my own life after I left corporate and started over was finding my people. People who were on a growth path, who cared about energy, spirituality, and self-awareness, who weren't going to look at me sideways for talking about intuition or Reiki over dinner. That community, those people, and you know who you are, changed me. It reflected parts of me back to me that I didn't even know were there. And that is what the right people do for you. If you're a concert person but your spouse isn't into live music, find some friends who are and go. I know Alex goes by himself. If you're a big hiker but nobody in your circle wants to trapeze through the woods with you, get on Meetup and find your people. Big reader, book club. Creative, class. Spiritual seeker, again, find your community. Whatever it is, go find your people for that thing. You'll feel it the moment you walk into the right room. And last, shake up your routine. Tiny tweaks count. Drive a different route. Try a new coffee order. Work out at a different time of day. Eat somewhere you've never been. I'm trying to stretch my palate right now, actually. I'm trying to try new things and not be so picky. It's a slow process, but I'm working on it. These small disruptions do something interesting to the brain. They snap you out of autopilot and make you present again. And presence, as we've talked before, is where you actually get to know yourself. All right, so you started paying attention, you're exploring, you're connecting with what feels good, all the things, they're shifting. Now what? How do you maintain that connection instead of drifting right back to where you started? Well, continue working with yourself, not against yourself. Keep asking what feels good and keep making small decisions that honor that. Don't wait for a crisis to check in. Build the check-in into your daily life. Morning, evening, whatever works, it doesn't matter. Just keep the conversation with yourself going. Express yourself. Say yes when you mean yes. Ooh, and no when you mean no, without the 15-sentence explanation. Tell people what you need. If you need time alone, say it. If you need real conversation instead of small talk, ask for it. If you need an ice cream sundae at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, okay. The point is, communicate. You can't be seen if you don't show up. And lastly, and this is the one that hit me hard when I finally got it, real hard, you are responsible for how you're seen in this world. I'm going to say it again. You are responsible for how you're seen in this world. People can only see what you show them. So if you're feeling invisible or unheard or misunderstood, before you assume it's everyone else's fault, look at what you're actually putting out there. A few years back, I had a major realization about this. I'd been feeling unseen in certain personal and professional relationships. Like, no one really got me, and I was flabbergasted, right? No one was showing up for me in the way I needed. And when I got honest with myself, I had to own the fact that I wasn't showing up fully either. I was performing. I was editing. I was giving people a curated version of me and then wondering why they didn't know the real me. It's so much easier to make it someone else's problem. But that's not honest. At least, not always. And it's not how you get what you actually need. You're not just a passive participant in your own life. You are the author. Start writing a story you actually want to live in. The version of you that people see is largely the version you decide to show. So if you've been hiding, playing small, editing yourself, making yourself easier to manage, other people's version of you is going to be incomplete. And then you'll feel unseen, and you'll wonder why. You are the one who dimmed the light. You get to turn it back up. Getting reacquainted with yourself is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing relationship, one you tend to, come back to, invest in, because you're worth that investment. And yeah, you're going to drift again. Life will get busy. Something big will demand all of your attention, and then you'll look up 6 months from now and realize you've been running on autopilot again. That's normal. That's human. The goal is not to never lose yourself. It's to notice faster when you have and know how to get back. You'll know the signs because you've done it before. You know what it feels like when you're off. Trust that. Use it. And remember that the path back is always the same. Pay attention, explore, connect, over and over again, as many times as you need. The most difficult phase of life isn't when no one understands you. It's when you don't understand yourself. So start there. Get curious. Get quiet. And pay attention. You're in there. You've always been in there. It's just time to say hello again. I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, be well and be you.